The following is a conversation with Dr. Wes Hendricks. Wes received his Doctor of Chiropractic degree from the University of Western States in Portland, Oregon in 2014. He's also the founder of Rebuild Brand Company, which provides online programming, working with coaches, competitors, and everyday athletes across the country. Wes has been on this show in the past, and today we're going to dive into how to get clients their first handstand. We hope you enjoy the show. Tune into the specific details that we provide, and maybe a handstand is in your near future. You are listening to the Co-Movement Gym podcast, where we inspire people to move and live courageously. If you are enjoying this content, please support our sponsors in the description. I thank each and every one of you for being on this journey with us. Now, please enjoy the show. Folks, listen up. I want to take a brief moment and thank our podcast show sponsors, Lombardi Chiropractic, Native Path Supplements, and Redmond Life. Lombardi Chiropractic has been my personal chiropractor for 10 years and has kept my body strong and healthy. Native Path Supplements are used by numerous co-movement clients and our coaching team here at the facility. I highly recommend that you try their chocolate collagen peptides. I was made aware of Redmond Life by one of our trainers here at the facility. He recommended I try Relight Electrolyte Powder. This supplement has dramatically improved my afternoon energy levels and overall hydration. I'd like to thank these three companies for providing outstanding service and products that make our society healthier and more resilient. Mention the Co-Movement Gym podcast when you call Lombardi Chiropractic, and not only will they treat you like family, they will provide a nice, enticing discount to all listeners. And use code COMO15, that's C-O-M-O 15, at checkout when shopping at nativepath.com or redmond.life and receive 15% off all your orders. Your support to our show sponsors assists in us paying for expenses and continuing to provide content we hope you all enjoy. Wes, welcome back to the show, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm psyched to be here.
Yeah, man. Our last time we chatted was having clients get their first muscle up. We got some awesome feedback on that. And so we're going to keep rolling here with the handstand. So it's the Instagram famous picture that everyone wants.
Who doesn't want a handstand, right? It doesn't matter if you're, a bodybuilder, Olympic lifter, CrossFitter. Well, CrossFitter, definitely. You don't need to be wanting to do calisthenics to want that handstand. Like every discipline freaking wants it.
Yes. And so, as a disclaimer, I'll put out there, a handstand most likely isn't going to improve longevity, right? There's many ways to skin that cat and overall health. But from a fitness component, especially an upper body and body awareness component, I love the handstand. I think it is a phenomenal movement for mobility, alignment, strength, balance, understanding your body in space. It's really, really a fascinating movement. And the other thing I love with it is it's very progressional, right? And we're going to go over this today. Mm-hmm. There's so many progressions that you can work towards the handstand. And even when you get a handstand, going beyond that, right? You can work the progressions to a one-arm handstand or on pirouettes, right? Or on handstand blocks, or maybe start playing with press handstands. It's sort of a never-ending journey. And I think it's really, really cool. The other thing, too, is that a lot of people think the handstand is very strength-based, right? And we're getting to this at some point, probably in this conversation. But yes, you need a level of strength to hold your body inverted, right?
Yeah.
But you don't need as much as you think, right? It's so much of an alignment drill, right? Or an alignment process, aligning the body properly. Would you agree with that, Wes?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's kind of a sliding scale too, and maybe we'll get into it more, so I don't want to go off topic here, but, I think it comes down to a matter of efficiency. So the more efficient you get, the less maybe strength component it becomes.
Absolutely. And I remind people here at our gym all the time, you've got 5 and 6 year old kids, doing handstands, right?
Yeah.
But then if you were to put a barbell or any kind of, absolute strength type mechanism in front of them, they probably wouldn't be able to do it, right? So,
Yeah.
so the alignment and positioning is so important with this. So let's dive in. The goal today is for someone that doesn't have a handstand that wants to maybe start pursuing a handstand. These steps on how to do that. So this is tremendously awesome free advice. Okay. So step one, Wes, where would you start a client?
So step one, first and foremost, I'd want to, and this is going to be like the first thing I'm going to do with everyone from phase 1 to phase, a million, wrist mobility, especially if we're going to do the handstand on our hands. Your carpal bones in your wrist are very small. Each one of them is like the size of your thumbnail.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember how many there are now. If this was a multiple choice test in chiropractic school, I could tell you. But they're small, and we're loading our entire body weight on them. A lot of people, aren't used to this. Their wrists are tight, from, cell phone use, computer use all day long. So we got to stretch them out. I have a wrist routine. I'm sure you do too, that you put clients through. So first and foremost, I'd want them mobilizing their wrist, honestly, daily, not even if they're not training the handstand. I want to work on that range of motion. And just getting them used to, moving them, flexion, extension, radial deviation, old arm deviation, just to expand that range. So, the wrist routine would be first. And then after that, I would follow it up with front body lines. So, you're laying on your stomach and you're holding a PVC pipe. You lift that PVC pipe off the floor, you shrug the shoulders, and you're strengthening or familiarizing yourself with that movement pattern of shrugging the shoulders in that, I guess that'd be shoulder flexion and shoulder elevation. Because most people, that's very foreign and unfamiliar to. So I'd be doing that. And then lastly, I'd be doing back body line. So now you go from your stomach to your back. And it's kind of like so similar to a hollow body hold. There's a few differences there. But if we're going, I think you and I were talking before the podcast, you have like 8 or 9 levels here. You've got a bunch of levels. So like if I was just start somebody, ground zero, I would just start with these 3 exercises, familiarize the upper body pattern, somewhat of that lower body pattern with that back body line, and mobilize the wrists.
Well, we went 3 for 4 on that.
Okay, awesome.
3 for 3 with yours, and I had 1 extra one in there.
Oh, perfect.
So I want to emphasize for people the wrist conditioning piece.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A lot of people want to ignore this. They're not interested in it. It feels weird, right? The wrist isn't a muscle, right? It's like I've heard all this different stuff through the years, but you need mobile and strong wrists to ever think you're going to be good at handstands. Okay. So people on YouTube can look up wrist routines. I'm sure, Wes, your YouTube channel has that.
Yeah.
We do have a wrist routine on ours. Very important. It's funny you said that you recommend it almost every day, if not every day. I just have like a general based warm up to get some blood flowing. And that wrist routine is in my routine, warm up routine, whether I'm doing handstand work or not. And so it's very, very important. The back body line, front body line, for sure. The back body line is anterior core. Front body line is more of a eye opener alignment position for people that ever think they're going to be able to do a handstand vertically. They have to be able to get into that front body line position. Okay. I put a few metrics in here. I like 3 sets each, back body line, front body line, of like 60-second holds. Difficult, uncomfortable, but I know when I worked with Ito, he really hammered those home also, and I hated doing them, but it led to great results down the road. The fourth one I had here was a box assisted pike handstand push-up. I like to start building a little bit of capacity here. So, 20, 24, 30-inch box, whatever, put your toes on the box and then stack your upper body into a handstand, obviously with your feet on the box, right?
Okay,
3, 4, 5 sets of 30 seconds, working up to that, get a little bit of weight on their wrists and get going. So
perfect.
All right, where do you take them from there, Wes?
So, my next phase, I was trying to be conservative here. My next phase would actually been the exact same stuff, but then I would add it on that piked handstand hold there. So yeah, that's the only thing I would add it on. So my phase 2 would be more like your phase 1.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would be doing those piked handstand holds for basically the length that you said, and just starting to get people to feel what it feels like to actually load the shoulders and distribute all their body weight forward. Because a lot of the times, a lot of people are strong enough maybe to go right to chest to wall handstands, because they've done wall walks or wall climbs and something like CrossFit. So that they think they can do a chest to wall handstand. Mm-hmm. And, the devil's in the details with, handstand work and calisthenics work. And you think you can be doing something right, but the slightest adjustment in how you're distributing your weight or how you're positioning yourself can make all the difference between actually just like, doing a progression and actually making it so it's going to make you go to the next progression. Mm-hmm. In the chest to wall handstand, I find if people jump ahead to that too much, they end up doing something where they're just like laying their hips into the wall, their spine is distributing too much of the load, and they're not really accurately loading, their wrists, elbows, and shoulders for that handstand position. So the piked handstand, even if people think it's too easy or it's not challenging enough, they're probably not doing it correctly. Because even to this day, I can do a 60-second handstand. A piked handstand is still difficult because I'm completely stacked, if I'm following the rules or the points of performance of it. So everyone should start with that piked handstand.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah. And the majority of people can start there, right? It's not an advanced movement. They can't start there. That was level 2. So level 2 for me, actually, I just have one movement in here. It is that pike assisted box handstand we just said, but I add a twist in there. I call it good line, bad line drill.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I find that when I have people do the box assisted handstand, a lot of times they almost end up with a 45-degree torso angle, right? Because they still want to go back to like a push-up, right? Mm-hmm. So what I have them do is they go from that 45-degree angle. I have them arch their back. So right, like an anti-hollow position. So that would be the bad line. And then I have them bring their hips over their shoulders into the good line. So they understand what it's like to be stacked. And then I have them go back almost into that crappy push-up position and then back to the vertical handstand, good line, bad line drill. And it's almost like a light bulb goes off with a lot of people when they find that stacked position, right? Yeah. Physics is working the way that it's supposed to there. So again, that's level 2. I think, again, I don't want people to overlook any of this, no matter if even you have a 20-second decent handstand, like these are drills that you can go back to refine that for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, I'll start off with level 3. So this is simple. So we built some capacity with the box assisted handstand. We got some core strength and we got some good mobility with the front body line. Level 3, I like chest to wall handstand work. So this is where we're actually in a handstand, chest to wall, which that starts to freak some people out because they don't want to tip over. A lot of these people are used to kicking over back to wall. Yeah. And they're in that big banana handstand, which obviously is not a good habit to get into. But chest to wall starts to somewhat hollow the body out and get you used to being in a truly stacked position and to build endurance and start to build more strength in that position. I like to work up to 3 sets of 1-minute holds. That takes people time. They got to work on the hollow. They got to work on, just staying tight in the midline. And that would be, that's my level 3. What do you have, Wes?
So for level 3, and also it's important to note here, like when I do this, like I take everything from level 2 and level 1 and just add it on here. So like you just included chest to wall, and I'll get into mine in a second, but I would still have people doing their wrist routine beforehand. I'd still have people either, starting to warm up with the back and front body line, or maybe, finish with the back and front body line. So we're just adding layers as we continue to advance. We also increase our capacity somewhat. So I just don't want to keep repeating, level 3, we would do front, back body line, this, and now this. So for you, or for level 3, I would actually, and this is person dependent. Sometimes I go right to a chest to wall handstand. Other times if they've gotten a really good pike handstand hold, but like I feel like they need some sort of intermediary step, what I'll do is I'll have them do wall runs or wall climbs, like what CrossFit does. And I got this from my friend John Lindsay. He'll, because he works with a lot of old people. And he'll have them do wall runs, to start to develop that shoulder strength. But it's more or less to get them comfortable being upside down for a moment, but then they come out of it, because if people like hold it for too long, they fatigue themselves out too early, or they might psych themselves out. So that wall run kind of builds that, shoulder strength in that unique range where you're loading your entire body, but you're also developing confidence. So, sometimes I might go to wall runs, or I might go right to, chest to wall holds like you put in. It's really, person dependent.
Now, when you say wall run, I think of that as...
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so it's not that then. So you're thinking like a wall climb, like a
wall climb. Yes. What CrossFit uses in like the open, where you start in a push-up position, and you use your feet and your hands to climb up into that chest to wall handstand push-up, chest to wall handstand hold, hold momentarily, come out of it.
Okay, good. Yeah. So for people listening, what Wes just said is that's what we're describing for this stage. Because if you YouTube wall run, sometimes it'll pop.
Oh my gosh!
Like,
yes,
you're in a chest to wall handstand, and then you're doing shoulder tap.
Yeah, I know what you're talking. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. So
it's a great
no, not that one.
Yeah, not quite yet. Okay. Moving on, level 4. So this is where I start to get into a little bit of freestand work with the heel pull and the toe pull. Okay. So if people look up the handstand heel pull, handstand toe pull, these are, and this was for me, I got to be quite good at chest to wall handstand holds, but I couldn't make that gap. And I see a lot of people make this mistake where they just go to the middle of the room and then they start kicking up and they fail and they fail and they fail. And they're like, well, what the hell? I can hold the chest to wall handstand forever. They're missing this step, I believe. So the heel pull is a back to wall handstand. And then you engage your pelvic floor and you pull your heels off the wall and you hit a handstand, hopefully. And then you go back to the wall and you repeat this for a number of reps. The toe pull is the same thing. And that's a chest to wall hold, handstand hold. And then you planche and lean the shoulders forward until the toes come off the wall. You hit your line in a handstand and then you return back to toes on the wall. This is amazing for so many reasons. But this is sort of what I say is the difference between someone that's really close to getting a handstand to someone that's still sort of dreaming, is that if they can do these 2 drills and hit a handstand even for 2, 3, 4 seconds, and then go back and repeat that, they're pretty damn close. So what do you have, Wes?
So I have like you toe pulls, because so when I think of the handstand, I break it up into two components. We've got the balance component, which is, the toe pulls, and then we have the entering or the kicking up. So what I do is I have people do toe pulls to train that balance component. And then I have people actually start doing what I call split kick ups, but against the wall. So they kick up, their feet are in a split position, so picture like a scissor position, they kick up, their foot taps the wall, and depending on the athlete, I might say, hang out there for 3 seconds. And if you could try to get that front foot off the wall to float for a moment, cool. Because it's fun for them doing that. It's starting to build confidence in the kick up, and it's letting them learn how much force they need to kick up. It's the wall's giving them feedback. Oh, I just slammed into the wall. I kicked too hard. Or I kicked up and I didn't get my feet over me. I didn't kick up enough. It starts to build confidence and getting that sense of how much they need to kick up, but they have the wall there. So there's never really a failed rep because they can reset once they make contact with the wall. So I have them do that, so toe pulls and split kickups, typically kind of what you alluded to about that 2 to 3 second where I have them hold it. And for most people, I normally have them just start out with like accumulate 15 toe pulls, accumulate 15 split kickups, break it up as needed. It's going to be very messy at first.
Yeah, that's a great addition that you added to that level. I find a lot of people are super fearful when they start doing those pickups. Again, like a lot of them are good at the chest to wall holds and like handstand holds, But as soon as you start to ask them to kick up, they kick about 6 inches, 10 inches off the ground, and then they drop back down. They're not even remotely close to getting over.
Getting their weight over, yeah.
But again, you just do an entire phase or two, just getting exposure to that and getting comfortable, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it slowly comes. And yeah, and the wall is a really nice sense of peace for people that are afraid that they're going to go too far over, and sort of wipe out. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Moving on. So the client's getting good at that. So it's funny. I sort of skipped the wall kick-ups. And so the start of this next level is a box assisted split kick-up. Okay.
Awesome.
In the middle of the room.
Okay.
And so this is a great addition to what you just brought up. So a box 20 to 30 inches, your feet are on the box, and you simply try to kick to a handstand, but we're reducing the range of motion, right? And the room for error. You don't need to kick up. It's actually funny. I demoed this in the gym the other day, and I had a hard time doing it because I'm so used to kicking.
You're kicking it, right?
But it was very weird. But once I figured it out again, it was probably like twice as easy, because you just have to bump off that box a little bit, and then you're automatically in that handstand. So I think that's very helpful for people. I like to have people do 6 to 8 per leg, in both legs, like I said, per leg.
Interesting. Okay.
I guess you could argue it a few different ways. If your goal is to get a handstand, train with what you're best at. If it's left leg, then left leg. And I'll talk about this at the end a little bit, but with Ito, he sort of emphasized like being proficient at getting into a handstand as many ways as possible, right? Right leg, left leg, straddle, pike, right? That's maybe a different conversation, but I like him to kick up with both legs. And then the second part to this level is a toe pull to freestanding for time. Okay. So they hit the toe pull, and like you had mentioned, 2-3 seconds, right? In the prior level. Yeah. This is where we say, let's do a toe pull into 10 seconds. Yeah. And then maybe we're doing singles, maybe we're doing cluster sets, or maybe we're doing 2 or 3 in a row. I'm not sure. It depends on the person. But that starts to build, again, more volume in the actual handstand. So, what do you have for this, bud?
So I keep the same exercises once again. I keep the split kick-ups and I keep the toe pulls. But now to you, we're accumulating more time or volume. I think of, previously where we said doing toe pulls for like 2 seconds, or doing, the split kickups where we hold it for like 2 seconds. I almost think of that more as like the eccentric. Like if you listen to our chin up one, we talk about doing eccentrics before we do, concentric. So I almost think of it like that's the eccentric version of the handstand, where we can get into it for a moment, but then we lose it. So like we're starting to like flirt with the idea, but we don't have enough capacity to really, accumulate reps. So that's like how I think of it in my head. So now, when I do toe pulls, like you said, I try to have them accumulate about 10 or so seconds. Same with the split kick up. I want them kicking up and floating, where like we're lightly tapping the floor, lightly tapping the wall, coming out of it. We're not really slamming into the wall anymore on the initial kick up. And we're getting that float for about 5 to 10 seconds, and we're starting to really have a good sense of balance. So same exercises, just increasing the difficulty.
Excellent. All right. So at this point, the client's getting close. So there's a drill here. I don't know if you do this drill. You can't do this by yourself, so you do need a partner. Is what I call a partner assist freestand handstand drill, right? Yep. So they kick up, and people are listening to this, not watching us. But I am demonstrating with my arms. You hold both arms out in front of you, horizontal with the ground, and the people's legs, they're in a handstand between both arms. So if they tip forward, they bump your arm. If they go backwards, they bump their arm. And so you're sort of a buffer. That drill has helped a lot of people.
Oh, I'm sure.
And, you can make it as tight as you want. I wouldn't go too wide, because then they drift too far, right? But you can build a lot of endurance and capacity in a real handstand. You can realize, oh, this is when I was going to lose it either way. It's sort of a really cool refining
Mhm.
piece to this level. Not doable for everyone necessarily because they don't have a partner or maybe even someone they trust to sort of catch them and keep them there. But it's a cool drill nonetheless. The other piece I have here is just building on what we said before is I'm going to have them start to attempt floor kickups without the wall.
Okay,
Okay.
awesome. Yeah.
I think that I know there's a skill set of learning to bail on a
Yep.
handstand, right?
Hmm.
We've had clients in the past here that get, and this is not under our advice, but they get really good at just doing a front forward roll out of a failed handstand, which I'm like, that's a
Oh my.
really, really bad handstand. Like if you're trying to do like something in nature or like on top of a mountain, like that's not a good idea. You're going to break your neck. So you have to get used to failing. And like, I really can't give you tips on that other than learn the arm that you're going to reach out to help catch yourself. Right. And it's sort of like a split cartwheel. I'm no gymnast by
Yep.
any means, but you don't need to be an athlete to learn how to gracefully get out of a handstand, so that sort of
Yep.
starts to help orient people with that. Um,
Mhm.
so how about you, Wes? Where are you going with them here?
So now I'm going to have people do, and I got this from you. I don't know if this is what you called it, but this is what I've started calling it. And it's a split kick up complex. So what I'm into, and I'm going to still have people use the back of the wall for the time being. They're going to kick up into a split position, and the idea is for them to kick up, in that split position, and maybe the front foot lightly taps the wall. I'm going to have them hold that position for about 2 to 3 seconds. And then I'm going to have them start slowly closing their legs with the goal of holding the handstand for about 2 to 3 seconds, and then opening the legs again and holding the handstand for another 2 to 3 seconds.
Mhm.
And what this does is it introduces the closing of the legs component, because a lot of the times I like to start people off like I would love to have people just be able to do a split handstand where they kick up and their legs are really wide apart,
Mhm.
because those wide legs give you a greater sense of support. So if you start going over, you have more room to adjust. If you start going back, it's almost like this. It's like standing on like a wide board as opposed to standing on like a wire, a trapeze wire.
Mhm.
When we close our feet immediately, we have this very narrow base of support, and if you don't have the refinement within your shoulders and your fingers to catch yourself, it's really hard for the beginner. So that's why I stick on the split position so long. So I have them do this complex position where they're starting to learn how to close their legs, because a lot of the times you got to close your legs slowly, because every time you close
Yes.
your legs, you're narrowing your base of support. And a
Yeah.
lot of times if people close their legs too quickly, they just tip over because
Mhm.
they haven't made the micro adjustments along the way.
Mhm.
Um, and inevitably what starts to happen is as people start closing their legs, they start to close it, they start to lose the balance, and they open their legs again. And this is amazing because they're learning how to save themselves.
Mhm.
And the more you can save yourself, the more you can set yourself up for success to stay upside down longer, because that's really the goal. Like, how can we get this person to stay upside down as long as they can, to accumulate time under tension, to get that balance sense. So yeah, that was a long-winded explanation to say split kick-up complex. We use the back of the wall at first.
Mhm. Yeah, that is a very specific skill set, going from that front split position and holding the handstand with, like you
Yeah.
said, the lower base of support, right? Um,
Mhm.
to closing the legs in getting into the actual candlestick, right?
Yeah.
So many people make that mistake of not building volume in that split position.
Yeah.
It's easier.
Yeah. It's like training
And
wheels.
yeah, correct. Exactly. Yeah, we have a few clients here now that are, I keep telling them, you got to get 20, 30 seconds in that split position and start to learn to close, but they want to just keep going to right to that closed position
Yes.
like we do, right?
Hmm.
What they didn't see was 1 year we spent
Uh-huh.
getting really good at that. And it makes sense, like physics wise, right? The higher a skyscraper, the more base of support you need, the harder it is to build, right? The
Of
higher you
course.
go. The
Yeah.
shorter the building, 1 level, 2 levels, the easier it is, cheaper
Hmm.
construction costs. Um, and so, yeah, that split position is huge. Yeah, that's a great point, Wes. Nice. All right, so kick off the next level for us here, because I think I'm slightly ahead of you here. So where do you take them from that wall split complex of closing the legs.
So I'll probably get from there, I'll get them into the middle of the room and I'll have them start kicking up. And depending on where they're at, if they're really proficient, maybe I'll go right to a freestanding split kick up complex where they're in the middle of the room, and they're going straddle, closed, back to straddle.
That's great. I didn't have that. Okay.
But if if I feel like they're maybe like, if I don't feel like they're going to be successful at that right away, I'll just have them in the middle of the room, kicking up into that split position, and just accumulating as much time as we can upside down, so maybe something like 10 sets of 5-second holds in that split position, maybe even less. I like to choose a marker where they're succeeding more than they're failing with handstand work, because it can turn into very quickly 60 minutes of just trying or failing over and over. And there's something to be said about that. But if we're constantly just at a 90% fail rate, we're choosing the wrong variation. So like I'll be strategic in the holds that I give people, but let's just say, split holds in the middle of the room for 2 to 5 seconds.
Excellent. I like that. That's a level in and of itself. I didn't have that. That's excellent. The next piece here was almost like a game that Ido created when I worked with him on achieving success with kick-ups, and it was a percentage game, right?
Oh, cool.
So it's just what you were describing. And you could do this with a split, you could do this with, any entry at this point, but it's giving a shit about nailing the handstand versus, like you said, 1 hour of just down 10,000 times, right? And then you really aren't ever truly paying attention per rep. You're just doing it and hoping you can float it and get lucky, right? Yeah. So the specific piece that really captured my attention, I used to have chalk on the ground and I would just keep track of what I call like my wins and losses. So like, I don't know, he would give me like 100 kick-ups. And again, this could be split, candlestick, straddle, whatever variation at this point. And it was 80%. Okay. And so you had to stick, and this is like minimum 3-second hold, and then kick back down, 80%. And it was very interesting. That changed, that just simple tip there changed how I approached that whole workout, because I was really paying attention to getting it versus, fail, don't know why. Okay, I did my 100 reps and we'll move on when I only got 12 of them, and I just built 88 bad habits. So that's, for me, that's sort of where it ends. I know you might have a little bit more. I said this earlier in the conversation, with an 80% drill, you can work this with split kick-ups, split close to candlestick, right leg, left leg kick-ups, pike kick-ups, straddle kick-ups, and tuck kick-ups. If you don't know what those are, you can look those up. Again, this is if you want to go beyond maybe a regular handstand, which is the main point of this episode. And then the capstone for me, I think most people can build to a 1-minute handstand if they follow these steps and they've got everything in order. You don't, in my eyes, like, again, it depends on your goals, but you don't need to be doing multiple sets of a minute. Again, if you're going after a 1-arm handstand or something very, that needs more strength and endurance, sure. But yeah, I think that's a really cool accomplishment, 60 seconds, stacked. So what do you have, Wes, in this last section?
From there, this becomes like less structured. Maybe if I still think they need it, we do, middle of the room split kick up complex, and we're kicking up, closing, opening the legs. Or maybe at that point in time, if I think they can do a 5-second handstand consistently, I'll start kind of doing what you did. Like maybe I haven't played with the game yet, but I'll accumulate as many reps as we can. So I might give someone 20 sets of 3-second holds, and then as they get better at holding, I reduce the sets and increase the time. So maybe, 10 sets of 5 or of, 15-second holds or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't keep 20 sets and then do 20-second holds. That would be crazy. So I play with those two parameters. until, we're at consistent, 20, 30-second handstands, and then continuing on to 60, like you said.
That's an important point you just brought up there for people listening, is how let's say you start with the prescription of 3-second holds for 20 sets. That's not 20 efforts and you only got 12, right? It's like you actually get 20 sets of 3-second holds. As the volume of the hold goes up, the sets decrease, right? This is very much like universal principles of programming in many instances. But like in the handstand specific world, like I said, 1 set of 1 minute, right? Like lots of volume, 1 set. You're sort of describing the inverse of that. And it makes you, and you could skin this cat a lot of different ways, but like you could almost do that for time, right? So through 20 sets of 3-second holds for time, but quality plus time, right? So it could take you an hour to do that in week 1, right? And then you could, drop that down to 45 minutes and then 40 minutes and so on. And your efficiency is increasing and so on and so forth. So, yeah,
absolutely.
Very cool. Yeah. Again, to reemphasize, I think the handstand is awesome. It's exciting. It's what I hope I can do for a long time.
Right. Yeah.
And then it opens the doors to other neat things. Again, regardless, you may want to get into handstand push-ups, press handstands, or not. It doesn't correlate to longevity and overall health, but if that's a goal, then you got to actually attack that goal correctly. And this is exactly what this episode laid out for people. So awesome. Wes, where can people learn more about you, your services, all of that? We're link in the comments, obviously, to everything also.
The easiest way is just, hit me up on Instagram at Dr. Wes Hendricks. DM me, engage with my content. That's the easiest way. I'm on there way too much.
Well, you're doing awesome work, buddy. It's a pleasure to chat with you. We've been connected for well over 10 years at this point, 2007.
Oh, yeah.
So I think the relationship is growing stronger and hopefully we're providing value for everyone listening. And we'll probably see you on some future episodes with more case studies.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. See you, brother.
Later, buddy.